You want to learn how I made this Cassius Stanley design in Photoshop step-by-step tutorial? Say no more, my guy. I got you. Alright, what's going on YouTube? So the first thing that we're going to do is mask out Cassius Stanley in two photos I have of him. So let's get right to that. I'm going to use select subject probably for both of them. I'm thinking I'm going to be able to use, and then anything excess I'm just going to get rid of it with the pen tool. So go ahead and use the pen tool, shortcut P, or any other selection tool that you'd like to use to mask out after you use select subject if the images are clear enough to be able to use that properly. Alright, so my mask looks pretty good. I got the red background. You can press shortcut Q to view it, but now I'm going to hit that layer mask icon and also add a solid fill color beneath it so I can just see what's really going on with the mask and how sharp it is for detailing it. But on this part, I want to get rid of his eye. Not get rid of his eye, but the part that's kind of messy on his eye. And then I'm going to do his hair as well, and make the mask a little bit more coherent with his hair. So double click, and I'm just gonna go over really lightly with my feather brush tool like this. I don't even have to do much here, and then decontaminate the colors and output to a new layer with layer mask. Okay, and then we're gonna do the same thing on this image, so don't worry about what I did really on this image, because we just have to add a skin to this. So what we're gonna do is go on our mask. I apply my layer mask. I'm gonna go to filter, camera raw filter, and I'm going to go to basic and then play around and make this mask way more interesting and more detailed, bringing the clarity up, dehaze a little bit, and then I'm gonna bring my sharpening up for sure, like somewhere around here. Press OK. Alright, now this looks pretty good. Make a duplicate of this, and we're gonna go to filter, other, high pass. Alright, I'm gonna put it to about 2. So I usually put it to about 2 or 1.4. That looks fine. Press OK, and then put it on linear light, and then maybe drop it down slightly, and then merge them together. And then one other thing you can do if you want is add levels and play around with the lighting on some parts. So say you want some of the darkest darks to be even more dark, so you can use levels on a small flow brush and brush in some areas if you want to do this. This is just to add some extra sauce to your edit. But yeah, and then once I just done playing around with this one, then I'm gonna go hop onto this one, and then we'll get to the composition. Alright, so for my composition layer, I'm gonna go to File, New, and I'm gonna put it on a 1080 by 1350 at 72 pixels per inch. Color mode is gonna be on RGB, 8-bit, and yeah, so let's create that. And now I'm just going to import my mask that I had made. Okay, so I want the setup to be something like that, but I also know that I do want this to be split into about 3 areas. So what I'm gonna do is just use the polygonal lasso tool, and what I like to do is just kind of split them pretty roughly. So something like this, right? And then I add a solid color fill. This is just like for the time being. So I'll add in that solid color fill right there for the first one. Then I'll add a second one in, and they don't have to be exactly the same size. In my work, I like to just vary things. So boom, that's the second one, and we're just picking a color. And then this one can just be, that's fine if it's just like that. Okay, so this is the first texture that I want to use. I just got this from one of my files that I had saved, but what I want to do is make this texture the first one that I'm going to use. So I'm just going to resize it to fit this area of the white background. So see, this is going to be on the white background. And what I'm going to do is actually just use a gradient map on this, and I'm going to go from white to black, and because like I don't want it to be very detailed. I just want it to be from white to black and kind of just a little detail, nothing crazy. But you guys will see, like when you're doing gradient maps, see how I'm just like adjusting this diamond right here. It just shows you how much feather you want. So I think that looks pretty good. And on this area, what I want to do is have Cassius Stanley all over print. So what I'm just gonna do is type it out here. So I'm gonna type out Cassius Stanley. Yeah, I like that color right there. And then so since this is gonna be all over print, I'm just gonna follow what this is right here. And then from there, I'm just gonna press Control J and whoops. I'm gonna press Control J, and I'm just going to keep pasting this in one line, and then once I have one line together, I'm gonna just copy it, and then I can just do it quicker like this. Cassius Stanley. So once you have these three together, just hold down Shift and select them, then press Control J, and you can just repeat it again and off center a little bit. Don't go right in the row, because it just doesn't look good to the eye. Control J again, and then we just have to get this off the canvas just like that. And then what you can do is you can control J all these again and off center once again like that. And then you can do it one more time, one or two more times, I'm not too sure. We'll go one more time, and then we can adjust them as a group after this one more time. So just like that. Alright, so now once you have them all together, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press on the top one to the bottom, and I'm gonna put it in a group. Okay, so now once we have it in a group, we can just move it around all together. So I'm just gonna move it around all together, but I'm gonna resize it to about here, right? So that's aligning, and then I'm also just going to put it underneath these two color layers like that. Alright, so there we go with that part. And then I'm gonna convert it to a smart object so I can blend it in. Right click on blending options, and let's see how it'll blend into our background. So yeah, I like that right there. Blends into the background. Really cool with the blending options. Make sure you guys hold down Alt or Option to separate these triangles apart from each other. And then we're just gonna do the last two areas that are going to get detailed on this composition. So for this yellow area right here of a solid color fill, I wanna put in a picture of Cassius Stanley dunking. So that's what we're gonna go ahead and do. So I'm gonna drop my opacity down because I Control V to put it in there. Now I'm just gonna drop my size down and just try to fit it roughly pretty good in there, something like that. And then I'm gonna clip it to this yellow solid. So just hold down Alt or Option, clip it to that, and I'm gonna bring my opacity back up. Now I'm gonna see if a layer mode works or if I have to use hue and saturation. So I'm gonna go on my layer modes, and it looks like overlay is pretty good for this. So I'm gonna put it on overlay. And also with this picture, I want it to be a little bit sharper, so we're gonna use the same steps that we had kind of before. Just go in the camera raw filter, and like that. That's before, that's after, so that's way more dynamic and looks good to me. Now for this side, I want it to kind of be like a nice sky, so I'm gonna pick a brighter blue, starting at the top. Then I'm going to add a layer, clip it below, and I'm gonna use my brush tool. I'm gonna alt click, and I'm picking that blue color, but I'm gonna go a little bit darker and just kind of brush some in at the bottom, and start kind of just playing around with the colors here on the sky. So the sky is pretty random, but you can get some nice colors to start going on within your sky like that. Okay, and then now I'm going to use a couple of cloud brushes just to fill out the sky. So just get a little bit of that, a little bit of this. You want it to be pretty calculated, but I don't stress about like where exactly a cloud would be. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Just up. So right there looks pretty cool. And now let's just do some type underneath Cassius Stanley's body here, and we're gonna gradient him out as well to get a smooth transition. So what I'm doing here is I'm using Bebas Neue font on bold, okay, and I typed out Cassius. Now with this font, I feel like it's really good, but the one thing I do want to add is a slight skew to the letter. So I'm just adding a skew on that to just have it at a little slant. And you might not notice these little types of saucy things, but it kind of matches up with the slant of where everything else is going if you do that type of stuff. So just kind of take note of that when you're doing pieces, and then you can just size it to somewhere that kind of fits on this composition. Maybe I'll drop size of him in the front down a little bit, just so we can get a little bit more Cassius Stanley there. Let's go to the flow, drop it down, and brush out the bottom of this so it's not harsh. Now underneath Cassius, we're just gonna add a duplicate layer, but obviously this one's gonna be smaller, and this is just gonna be his last name. So I'm gonna put like Stanley right off to the center-ish, so just Stanley right there. Boom. Cassius Stanley. Nice, simple, clean, cool. Okay, and then so for these separators right here, what I want to do is have a rectangle that kind of splits them, or not splits them, but separates them. So there's more of a just a separation. So I'm just gonna add a rectangle, and I'm just gonna put fill on white, stroke, no stroke, and let's just add a base rectangle for right now, just something like this. Right, and I'm just gonna rotate it. I'm gonna rotate it to the selection that I made. You're just gonna have to work on this probably a little bit, just see exactly where it rotates to. All right, so just like that works with the two rectangles that we used. Okay, so now we have those two rectangles. Boom. All right, hold on, let me make this clear. So the two rectangles, boom, boom, and on these rectangles I like to add a drop shadow when I do this, like a slight drop shadow, just to kind of show like just some distance or whatever you'd like to call it. So I'm just going on my drop shadow and adding a basic drop shadow. It's nothing crazy. Go to your drop shadow, no outer glow, bring the opacity up, bring the size down to like 0, add this depth in between like this. So yeah, just do that, and then you're gonna make a layer underneath, and this is going to be with the pen tool. And with the pen tool, you're just gonna have to fill in this area like this, and you're just gonna have to do this around the whole shape. So it's gonna take a little bit of time, but it's definitely worth it. So just make the selections around the text that are going to make it look 3D, and just take your time with this, and then we'll be back. So once you're at this point, you're just gonna go to your solid fill color layer and go to solid color, and then go to black, since we're using black right now, and that'll fill it in. And there you have your 3D text for the first part, and then we're just gonna do the same thing on the second part as well. All right, so you guys see I got the text in there, and I also changed the color. So I just changed it to like a yellow similar to this jersey, and the blue similar to the Pacers. So what I just want to do now is just add a texture onto this text, not onto the back side, just onto the front. So what you gotta do is just paste your texture in that you want to use, and then I'm just going to clip it to this, and I'm gonna also go to Control U and drop the saturation down, and then I'm gonna set it to linear light, and then also do the same thing for the last name, and then just size it down like that. Alright, so we're just gonna do the shadow underneath his foot. So I'm gonna use the ellipse tool like this. Boom. Put it down to like right about here, and then I'm gonna convert it into a smart object after this, then rasterize it so I can go ahead and kind of play around with it a little bit, not too much. You just want to get the edges out, kind of. You don't want the edges to be so poignant, for lack of a better word. the way I usually do it when I'm doing sports design. So just like that. And then also on the sky, let's like add a light source or something. So I'm just gonna use this yellow and put it on linear dodge. When you're using linear dodge, you don't have to use it bright at all. As you guys see right there, how much of a shade it already gives, just kind of crazy. And then at the top, I'm going to put in a light layer. We're gonna actually use a blue layer. Let's put it on linear dodge again, so like that. And then I'm gonna use my gradient tool and make a gradient that's coming over, hitting him with light. You can adjust as you need be. From the bottom, maybe you don't want it to be as harsh, so that type of thing there. Then I'm just gonna add a little effect. So this is a hologram, just kind of texture-ish thing. So I'm adding this hologram texture-ish thing, and I'm gonna put it on like, you just gotta pick the one that looks best for you and your purpose of editing. So I guess lighten looks pretty cool. So I'm gonna put it on lighten, and then I'm gonna put some blending options on and take it off some places. But yeah, at this point, I would say you're pretty much done. You know, you can add whatever else type of things you want to add. Maybe you want something that's blurred in the foreground to add a little bit of depth, but I like where it is right now. I'm just gonna soften it up over here like that. Looks cool. So when you're done with it, you can just condense it. You press Control Shift Alt E, new layer from visible. I'm gonna make it into a smart object. Then I'm gonna go to camera raw filter and just play around with my settings on camera raw. And yeah, just play around with your settings on camera raw. Make sure it looks to what you want it to look like, and just pick what you want it to look like, really. I like to use color grade when I'm on camera raw all the time. I feel like it just gives it a nice touch. Sometimes I don't go too in depth with it, but yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this sports design video. If you did, make sure you guys slap that like button. Comment down below what other designs you want to see from me, or design styles, because I can switch up styles like in the blink of an eye. Okay, so guys, so just let me know what you guys want to see from me going on. And thank you guys for tuning to another video. Until next time, man, it's been calsoscoped. Stay scoped, y'all. Peace.